Welcome to Healing from Within. I'm your host, Tony Valen. You can contact me, Tony at TonyValen.com, or visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen. Joining us on today's show is Colby Parrish. Colby's journey began at the age of 4. He's a healer, empath, intuitive that blends a mix of tarot and oracle cards with the affinity of crystals. He is unique in the fashion that he connects with not only spirit, but the goddess and angelic energies. He is a Greywalker. You can learn more about Colby Parrish by going to EnchantedEarthDunedin.com. Enchanted Earth is located at 733 Main Street, Dunedin, Florida. Telephone 727-216-6594. Like Enchanted Earth on Facebook and follow Enchanted Earth on Twitter. Colby, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first question I always ask all my guests. What are your gifts and how did your journey begin?
Well, my gifts, I am a tarot reader. I read intuitively. I even teach workshops on intuitive tarot. It's really using your own personal intuition and divine abilities and using the cards as kind of your vehicle. I'm a very sensitive empath. I'm someone who's struggled with pretty gnarly anxiety for the last 10 years. And through the work of crystal therapy and crystal healing, I've been off medication for about 4 years now.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah, awesome. Other abilities, I do a lot of healing, working with the chakras, working with crystals, working with personal energy. I do not advertise myself as a medium, but from time to time, spirit energy will come through with a message for a client. I also see spirit animals around people when I open up. And I'm one of the readers, I don't like to stay open. So when we sit down for a session, I open up, and then at the end of the session, I close back down. I had a major life change about 4 years ago. I've had my abilities my entire life, very strong as a kid. I started reading tarot when I was about 12 years old, but it was for fun. And, at 12 years old, you don't know exactly what you're doing. But as I grew older, all of that kind of pushed off to the side. I've always been very, very sensitive to energy, being the sensitive empath that I am. That's always been there. That's never left.
Yeah.
But divination and things like that, I kind of left and walked away from. And 4 years ago, I had a major, major trauma in my life that made me start to look deeper into my spirituality. And through that, I found my calling.
Oh, and can you tell us what that event was, or is that too personal?
No, I don't mind. I lost my partner 4 years ago, this coming February 2nd. To lymphoma.
Sorry to hear that.
And it was horribly traumatic. We had been together for 4.5 years, and my life got turned upside down. So I started on a spiritual journey, and I went and saw a reader, and was thinking I was going to sit down with a medium, and I was sitting with just an intuitive reader, and instead of just receiving messages from my partner, she pretty much told me it's time to buckle your seatbelt because your life is drastically going to change, and you can either choose to walk this path or you can continue to stay blind to it. So I heeded her advice, and I fully opened up to my spirituality. And I got to say, I'm the happiest I've been in my 36 years. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. I'm finally found the best way possible I could be at service to others, helping others, counseling others, and bringing them into their spirituality as well.
Wonderful. Now, when you say you open up to your spirituality, what exactly does that entail? How did your life change from day to day?
Well, I'm sure that you've heard the term the awakening.
Yes.
Everyone's going through this awakening.
Yes.
Sometimes when people suffer from a serious trauma, maybe it's a physical trauma, or for me it was emotional trauma, it opens up the floodgates of your higher consciousness. And what started happening was I was receiving messages, and intuitive hits and signs and things I didn't know, and it was very, very overwhelming. And thankfully, the friends that I have here at Enchanted Earth were able to guide me through those early years.
Yeah.
I was actually a customer of the shop for several months, and they saw something in me that was real and brought me on board. I also, it's not something where you just jump into it. I had my natural abilities that needed to be honed and cleaned and polished. And I spent about a year really focusing. I had a very, very part-time job so that I had the flexibility to get out here and do the spiritual work, strengthening myself, understanding how my abilities work. If you want to get very descriptive, I am claircognate, so information just kind of drops into your head. All of a sudden, you just know something.
Yeah.
I'm clairsentient. I like to hold hands and begin to receive messages through touch. Along with that, there's psychometry, where holding an object, especially like a piece of jewelry or something, and I can sit there and hold that object and receive messages through the energy that's resonating around that piece of jewelry or even keys. And then there's the clairvoyancy as well. The healing, I have the healing hands. My hands are always hot. Always, always hot. And whenever I'm around someone who is either also empathic and a healer or is in need of emotional or physical healing, my hands get very, 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 very warm. And I never understood that. I never understood why I always had warm hands until I started training and focusing. So it gets so broad.
Yeah. You mentioned the awakening. So let's say that someone listening today or listening to this show is at that point where they're awakening and they don't know how to start or what to do. What are the steps that you took or do you recommend on a daily basis someone can do to connect with higher self and develop?
One of the first things is to start practicing with meditation. And don't get me wrong, that's a dedication right there. Meditation is not easy for everyone. It's not about the length of the journey or necessarily the initial messages coming through, but just being able to sit down and clear your mind for 5 to 10 minutes is very important. People are going to have different avenues that they'll find themselves going down. For me, it was always crystals. Crystals open me right up, bring me into my higher consciousness. And I will always, when I'm talking with somebody who's interested in their own psychic development, we see how sensitive they are to crystal energy. And if that's a direction, then that's something very easy to do. For others, it's toning, doing ohms and things like that. Others, it's sound, bells, chimes, drums. How you come into your higher consciousness can vary. And that's another thing that I teach workshops on is coming into your higher consciousness and psychic development and things like that. It's a trial and error, to be completely honest. It's let's try this out. How does this work? Is this resonating with you? Through workshops is how I found out about my ability with psychometry and clairsentient ability. Had no idea that one of the ways I received message was through touch.
And when you said that you connect or something and you want to open up, do you ever, you say you shut down. So how do you, I know some people, is it dangerous to remain open all the time?
Some people enjoy it. Some people enjoy being in their higher consciousness all day long. Now, I'm a Libra, so I'm an air sign, so I'm already an airhead. But, being in that higher consciousness is very intoxicating, and you can feel drunk or even, excuse me for saying this, but you can feel like stoned.
Yeah.
And although it's enjoyable, I don't want to be there all day long.
Yeah.
So, in workshops, in books, you read all of this stuff about, being able to open up, coming into your higher consciousness, being in that energy and receiving messages, but they don't leave very much for shutting down. That was something that I had to learn on my own.
Yeah.
And tips and tricks from friends and spiritual advisors and things like that helped along as well. But yeah, I don't want to know what's on everybody's mind all the time.
Right.
It's very invasive.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. You read Oracle and Tarot cards.
Yeah.
Tell us about the cards and what the difference is.
Well, most people are going to be more familiar with Tarot cards. And you can read it from a technical standpoint. There are tons of books out there. And the cards are developed with specific imagery to guide you in directions that you need to go in. Oracle cards are a little different, and there are so many varieties. Oracle cards are definitely something that, say, a person is interested in reading cards and they primarily are going to be reading themselves. Oracle cards are a great option for them to gain guidance, to receive a daily message, and things like that. Tarot, I am not one who pulls cards on myself when it comes to tarot cards. Some people do, not my style. For me, tarot is something I read for other people. And you've got your classic Rider-Waite that most people are going to be familiar with the blue plaid background on the back of the card. And then you start to get, again, more broad. There's so many different styles and types of tarot cards. You're working with a universal deck if they have wands, cups, swords, and pentacles and the minor arcana. A universal deck is going to carry the same cards, but they may be different artists and different imagery. I'm a bit of a collector. I have close to 40 decks of cards, both tarot and oracle. A lot of my oracle cards are the angel oracle cards, but over the last couple of years, I've been venturing out and starting to collect other types of oracles. There's oracles for working with animals. There's mermaids and fairies and unicorns and dragons, you name it. It's underneath the sun. But each one, there's fairy oracles that are for manifestation. There's oracle decks that are for working in your spirituality and psychic development. There's even oracle decks that are specifically for love and romance, which I'll be pulling out next month for Valentine's.
Basically, at the start of your explanation, tarot cards is for reading other people. Oracle cards, you can read other people, but those are the ones you can use for yourself as well. Is that correct?
Right. Now, that's also my preference and perception.
That's your preference. Got it.
Don't get me wrong. You can sit down and do a spread of tarot cards for yourself and look and see what's in there and receive messages. But it's hard when you know what's going on in your life and implementing the messages of the cards. You can really twist it the wrong way.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I always suggest to people, if you're reading tarot for yourself, don't pull more than 3 cards. You really don't need much more than that.
What about a spread for other people? What do you recommend?
Oh, spread for other people. There's so many spreads. The most classic is the Celtic Cross. I use a personal spread that I have come up with over the last few years that gives a full story in each segment of the reading, loosely based off the Celtic Cross. And then there's spreads for horoscope and astrology. There's love spreads, job spreads, beat your enemy spreads. There's all kinds. It's really depending on how the person reads and how broad of subject they're looking at for a client.
Now, and I wanted to go back just to one more question, and this is for the benefit of, like I said, people listening. Let's say you have someone that is again, a beginner, opens up and starts, being a reader and whatnot, and they want to shut down. Do you have a certain step that you can give them for shutting down?
Absolutely. One of the most important things is grounding, being anchored in your body and being able to reconnect to your physical body. If you can kind of think of your energy or your spirit drifting from your body into the astral realm or into the ethers. It's coming into your higher self. All of a sudden you feel like you're like 10 feet tall. So after reading, having various techniques of bringing yourself back down, there's wonderful things like sandalwood oil. Although it is expensive, you can put it on you. You can anoint yourself to bring yourself back down. Saging can clear energy and bring yourself back down. One of my favorite things is earthing, which I'm sure people have seen it on Facebook before, walking around barefoot. Unless it's bitter cold outside, and of course we're in Florida, so it's not that bad. I spend most of my days barefoot, keeping yourself connected to Earth's energy. And then, you know, people have their stones. For me, I like hematite. I wear hematite every day. It's definitely a shield, and it keeps me grounded. Tourmaline, onyx, obsidian, bloodstone, anything dark will help ground you. For those who have nasty habits, smoking cigarettes, the tobacco is definitely an herb that's an earth herb and brings you back down.
Got it.
I'm sure there's 100 more techniques, but those are the ones I utilize.
Absolutely. You do crystal work. Tell us about your crystal work.
Crystals, honestly, have been around for me longer than even tarot cards have. Crystals have always been a part of my family. I received my first crystal when I was about 9 years old from my great aunt, and it's a huge piece of rose quartz, and I still have it to this day. My father used to take me to gem shows when I was young. Of course, back then it was just, they're cool. I like them. They're fun. I didn't understand that. I was connecting to them on a spiritual level. And when I got back on my path, crystals were one of the first places I went to because it's second nature, understanding their energy, understanding how they can work for you. I've put a lot of time, energy, and money into my crystals. I use them for healing. As I mentioned earlier, I do chakra alignments and chakra balancing and crystal gridding on the body where you're placing crystals in certain areas. I also have my home gridded. And when I say gridded, you're actually putting crystals in specific areas to harness a specific energy. Mm-hmm. And then I even use them for divination with lithomancy. I wear crystals. Again, I mostly wear just hematite. It's hard for me to wear something like a quartz, which is an amplifying crystal. I tend to try and stay grounded. I have tourmaline underneath my bed to keep me grounded while I sleep. I have protection stones. I've got prosperity stones, you name it. There's not a single thing that I do that doesn't involve crystal work, to be completely honest.
Right. Now, I know that for me personally, for whatever reason, I'm very attracted to quartz. Yeah. And I love it. And you just said it's an amplifying stone. What does it amplify, or what does it exactly do?
Quartz is your end-all, be-all stone. It works for just about everything. It works with all chakras. It works with all aspects of life, except for maybe grounding. Some people say that quartz can be a grounding stone, but for me, it sends me right up into my higher consciousness. But when it amplifies, say that you are going to be doing public speaking. Mm-hmm. There is a stone, it's called blue lace agate, that really helps you with speaking eloquently, getting to your point, speaking clearly, and having people understand you. So public speakers tend to carry a piece of blue lace agate in their pocket. You can marry that with a piece of quartz to amplify that energy, to bring forth that kind of sureness in your speech. Yeah, you can use the quartz to amplify any energy that you are working with.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, well, maybe that's why I like it, because it helps me in everything. What specific crystals do you use?
And very close to hematite. Quartz, tourmaline, which is another grounding stone. And then there's things like dambarite, which is quartz on steroids. Bloodstone is a great stone for negating negative energy and keeping away bad juju. Malachite is probably one of my most favorite stones. It's this beautiful swirly green color, and it's used for many things. It's a great stone for healing and is closely connected to Archangel Raphael. It's also a prosperity stone, great for doing money work. And also it's a stone to help gain knowledge both intuitively and in the mundane world. A student can have a piece of malachite with them while they're studying and leave it with their study materials, and when they're ready to go take a test, they can take that piece of malachite with them, and it helps the retaining of the information to have higher test scores.
Very interesting. What do you think of selenite? I think I'm saying that right.
Everybody needs selenite. Selenite is a crystal form of salt. Salt that has been crystallized into a stone. And it is a stone of purification. It can also amplify, much similar to a quartz, but you place selenite in your home near your main entrance to cleanse and clear all energies coming into your home. You can use a selenite to cleanse your other crystals. You can use selenite to cleanse all of your magical tools. It's just a really, really good stone. I have probably too much selenite for one person to own.
Yeah, because that's the one crystal I always hear people talking about. Yeah. Where do you get your crystals? I mean, do you get them right there where you work at, or is there...
It is the easiest and most convenient place. One of the great things with Enchanted Earth is we stock the shop with what we work with. It's not just a shop full of retail stuff. Everything that comes in here, somebody has worked with it in some way, shape, or form. I just spent $50 last week on crystals because we got new shipments of stuff in. Oh. It has, over the years, become very hard for me to go shop at other places because I know where our stones are coming from. I know the quality. I trust our vendors that we get from, and we have such a wonderful variety. So often we hear people who come in say that they don't see the stones we carry in other shops, and that's why they continue to come back, and that's why I continue to shop here as well.
If someone has questions about specific crystals, can they contact you at the store? Absolutely.
There's a few of us here at the shop. There's myself. There's, of course, Kim. She's extremely knowledgeable. Navier, Misfit Lion. There's several of us here who do work with crystals. But, yeah, crystals is one of my love and specialties. And I'm here Wednesday through Sunday, and they can definitely reach me here at the shop.
Wonderful. They can call 727-216-6594, and that's Enchanted Earth in Dunedin, Florida. What are angelic energies, and how do you work with them?
I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I do not work with angelic energy in a traditional form. Most people who work in angelic energy, and I'm not saying all, I'm saying most, tend to walk the path of a light worker, which is a very beautiful and gentle path, don't get me wrong. But I come from a different standpoint. Are you familiar with the word pantheon?
I am not.
Okay, so you have the Greek pantheon, the Egyptian pantheon, the Roman pantheon, all the gods and deities from those pantheons is one family.
Okay.
So you have Dionysus and Zeus and Apollo, and each culture has their own pantheon. Well, I view the angelic realm as another pantheon. It's a course of 15 angels, archangels, and each one is very specific in their energy and very specific in their aspects and the way you can work with them. I did not choose to work with them. They chose me. It was kind of my gateway into my spiritual practicing was beginning to work with them. I have a very personal relationship with a few. I have an understanding of how they work. But to be completely honest, I don't see them as a connection to Christianity, even though that's what's most commonly known with them. Mm-hmm. The relationship that I have, they predate, and they are more celestial beings than they are, Christian angelic forms. I don't know if that makes much sense, but...
Yeah. No, I
Through
get
my
it. Yeah.
practicing, that's what I've learned through them.
Now, on the crystals that you were talking about, you mentioned blue something, and I'm writing down notes as I'm talking to you. So that's what I forgot what the
Blue lace agate.
blue lace agate.
Yeah, blue lace agate really helps with public speaking.
Perfect.
And that's just one singular aspect that you can find with blue lace. It works with the throat chakra.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah. And I always have problems with my throat chakra, to be quite honest with you,
You may actually have a bit of success working with some lapis lazuli as well.
Oh, how do you spell that?
Yeah, lapis, you can just write lapis down, Lapis, lapis. It's a cobalt blue or stone with gold flakes through it.
Oh, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there specific angelistic energies that you work with?
Yes, actually. When I had my very first session with my spiritual counselor, and yes, I have my own spiritual counselor that I go to, she was a little taken back because of one of the specific energies that were around me, and that's the Archangel Azrael. And, of course, I came to her in a time of mourning, just losing my partner. And so, of course, in that aspect, you wouldn't be surprised to see Azrael there. He is the angel of death, of grief, of loss, of counseling, of grief, counseling, of letting go, releasing, and moving on.
Yeah.
But as she opened further, she saw that he wasn't just there to heal for me, but he was there with me. Now, I do say he. Many people acknowledge that the archangels are androgynous. There's no sex to them. But energetically, each angel does feel either masculine or feminine to me. So, again, just my perception. I've worked with Azrael from the very beginning. I've also worked with Archangel Michael from the very beginning. Very strong presence, very strong energy. I'm actually wearing Archangel Michael's sigil today. When I decided to really dedicate my time and energy towards my spiritual practice and becoming a practitioner, Archangel Uriel started showing up, helping, guiding me in the direction that I needed to go in that moment. And over the years, others have peeked their head around. Archangel Raziel is really cool. He's kind of the Merlin of the angelic realm. Mm-hmm. The sage, the wizard, working with esoteric message and dream interpretation and things like that. Archangel Haniel is, if the angels had a moon goddess, the Archangel Haniel would be that. And Haniel works with clairvoyancy, empowerment, and things like that. There's others who will peek their head around from time to time, but the ones I mentioned, plus Raphael, have all been very strong presence in my life over the last few years.
And when you work with these angelistic energies, do you both hear and see them, or just hear them, or just see them?
When I open up to them, I often will see, believe it or not, each one carries a halo of color with them. And so color emanates out of their energy. So I'll usually first connect to that color. Raphael is one of the ones who quite often will send me very specific imagery, letting me know that he is there. Specifically, I will see malachite stone around a person when I'm opening up with them and knowing that that is actually Raphael, signifying that he is there. Azrael, because I've worked so closely with this archangel, will manifest in so many different ways. I get various visual interpretations of Azrael depending on the type of energy I'm working in. Sometimes I'll see patterned cloths around a person. Sometimes I'll see specific wing structure and color wrapped around somebody. And there's been a few times where I've seen a not-so-nice side come through as well, when people are working with serious, serious trauma.
Really? So, wow.
With the way my abilities have manifested, I'm not so much what they call clairaudient. I don't hear a whole lot. From time to time I do, And it doesn't just freak me out, it freaks out the client I may be sitting with, especially if I'm popping out with a specific name of someone in their life or astrological sign or something that's just completely unrelated and off the wall, but makes definite connections. I don't hear stuff. I see things. I get imagery in my head. And that was one of the hardest things in the beginning was deciphering, is this truly divine imagery or is this just being made up in my head? But when you begin to talk about what it is you're seeing, you start to find out how true and honest the images are. So with the angelic energy that comes through, I'll see the halos. Certain angels will have other representations. Archangel Michael comes through in so many different ways. Haniel will come through oftentimes with a dove, or will come through with something, a stone called moonstone. There's several different paths you can take with that. I never know what I'm going to see when I first open up with a client.
Wow, yeah.
I just kind of sit back and let the imagery come through.
Absolutely, and I think that's the way it should be, and I think that what makes you an authentic reader, when you just let the energy flow. Don't try to design it, or, you get what you get.
I don't like to force things to happen. When you try to force something, that's why I don't advertise myself as a medium. I am not at a place in my spiritual life where I can just turn that on. If spirit energy is coming through the message, then that's beautiful and that's wonderful. But I am just not in a spiritual place where I can open up to spirit energy like that, where I'm communicating with your loved ones on the other side.
Yeah, and I definitely understand. Yeah, no, I get it. This is Tony Valen, Healing From Within. You can contact me, Tony at TonyValen.com. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter, at TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing From Within with Tony Valen. We are talking to guest Colby Parrish. Colby's journey began at the age of 4. He is a healer, empath, and intuitive. Colby blends a mixture of tarot and oracle cards with the infinity of crystals. He is unique in the fashion that he connects not only with spirit, but with the goddess, and also with angelic energies as well. He is a Greywalker. You can learn more about Colby Parrish by going to EnchantedEarthDunedin.com. Enchanted Earth is located at 733 Main Street, Dunedin, Florida. The telephone is 727-216-6594. Like Enchanted Earth on Facebook and follow Enchanted Earth on Twitter. Now, Colby, what is lithomancer? Is that right? Did I say that?
Lithomancer. Someone who likes to play with rocks.
Oh.
Essentially. Actually, lithomancy dates back even before tarot, as they say. It's also known as throwing bones. The traditional style of lithomancy is you have a lithomancy mat that is a circle that's cut into 4s, and then there's more circles around it, and you cast a set of 13 stones onto that mat, and you read where the stones land. This is something that's older than tarot. It's something known to be throwing bones as well. Back in the 90s, you could even get a set called the Crystal Oracle. That was a whole set. I had one. Didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But what I do is a little different. It's something that I stumbled upon during my researching and getting ready to go into the professional realm. I was sitting with friends one night. We used to have a study group every week. We would hold it at different friends' houses. And, of course, I'm there always concentrating and looking at my crystals and learning more and more about them. And I had a bowl of crystals one night, and I just poured them on the table and had everybody start taking crystals. And we kind of went round robin until all the crystals were done. Initially, my idea with it was just to show them how much knowledge I had gained about the crystals. But what ended up happening was I read them like it was divination, and I weirded everyone out at the table because I went from talking about what the crystals are to why that person had pulled them. And so I started showing some of my some of my tutors and some of my mentors, oh, look at this. I stumbled upon this. And I was encouraged to add that into my portfolio. So now I have my litho bag, or my magic bag of rocks. There's about 40 different stones in one bag. And at the beginning of a session, I'll have a client pull 5 stones. And they're pulling blindly. And basically, they're pulling energy out of that bag. And so the stones are lined up, and I read their stones. Sometimes I'll rearrange the stones. I'll couple them together in different groups to show different effects. And I've gained a little popularity from doing so. My style of lithomancy is rather unique and has been wickedly spot on. And I'm proud to have it be part of my portfolio. It's definitely like my thing. I've done workshops and whatnot on lithomancy and how to make your own magic bag. It is a step away from traditional lithomancy, but I still am a lithomancer. The crystals talk to me.
Very good. Now, does everyone pick 5, or do you have a certain number that comes to you for each individual person?
Majority of the time, they're just picking 5 stones. Once in a while, I may ask for them to pull another stone that I feel that there's something else that needs to come out. Once in a while, a client will just say, these 2 stones need to come out too. I'm rather casual and flexible. It's not set in stone on how many you need to pull out, but I generally will do 5 because we could sit here all day long and I could read your stones, but it's just a small portion of the reading that I do. It's there's a process. Yeah. It's a get to know you thing. And after we get into the blessing and get done with that, the first thing I do is I have you pull your stones because I want to see where you are emotionally. That's another moment where angelic energy may be coming in. Yeah. Because there are a few angelic stones like the malachite, moonstone, sugilite, chrysocolla that are all in the bag that are holding of angelic energy.
In starting your journey, I know that you probably started it like everybody else. You were intuitive, you learned to hone in on it and whatever, but I've noticed that as we have our conversation, you have added quite a bit of modalities and different ways of doing what you do. How did you learn all these methods?
It's been a time of remembering. I don't necessarily feel like I learned anything new. It's remembering that I could do this and that I could do that. Just about everything that I do for my client are things that came to me second nature, that I didn't necessarily have to work hard towards. Take, for instance, tarot. When I was a preteen, I was set on you had to read tarot from a technical standpoint. You had to know the written explanations of every card in upright and reverse, and that was the only way that you could read tarot. But as I got older, I had received a deck that was called the Golden Tarot, and I still have that deck. I shuffled up those cards, and I laid out a spread for a friend, and all of a sudden, I could see the card. Like, I could see the story. And that's what happened with the crystals and the angelic energy. It wasn't necessarily, yes, there was a time of study and learning, but it was very second nature, very like the back of my hand. And there's other modalities that I just don't work in. Scrying with a mirror, which is really cool, really popular, is not my modality. Runes do not come to me naturally for divination. You can use runes for so many other things, but it's not something that comes to me naturally for divination. I do have a rune set. I do work with them, but I don't work with them on clients. It's something that's more personal. But yeah, with the awakening things, it was almost like one day the door was kicked out, and all of a sudden I had this breezeway of information coming through and being reminded of, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do the other. It could be past life connection. It could just having that knowing now and understanding.
Or like you said, remembering.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things also with the different modalities I work in, I've done a lot of work. I have dedicated these last 4 years, and I'm dedicating the rest of my life to my practicing, to my attaining of knowledge. You never stop learning. You just never do. And there's going through past life regressions, having your Akashic records open and accessed. There's so many, I call it next level training or next level divination. People don't normally go to someone to have a past life regression. People don't normally go to someone to have their Akashic records read. But you can gain new insight, new information, new knowledge, and new ability through having these things done for you. I had my Akashic records done 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And through the Akashic records, I came back with the knowledge of my style of chakra healing, something called chakra accessing. I came back with the knowledge of being able to see animal energy around people and doing spirit-animal integration during healings. I came back with a knowledge of being able to see past life themes around people who have spent lifetimes being a doctor, being a psychologist, being a superhero, whatever. I work 48 hours a week in this energy, in this shop. I am always in a magical place, and we're always working with one another to get better and better and better at the abilities that we have, because it's like a muscle. You have to constantly train. You have to constantly connect.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. One thing that in looking at everything that you do is a Greywalker. Now, I truly have no clue what that is. What does that mean?
Well, a Greywalker is a name. So I'm a practicing witch.
Okay.
And I am a pagan. At least in our immediate community, it is not as common for someone who is a practicing witch to work in angelic energy. I'm not saying people don't. I'm just saying it's not as common. And so I'm working in both the light and in the shadow, working in that balance, walking that gray line. And when you walk the gray and you have an understanding of how you work in your energy, then you come into the aspect of the Greywalker, that you're able to put your feet in both the light and in the dark. And don't get me wrong, the dark or the shadow is not something evil. It's something unknown.
So basically it has to do with the pagan part of what you do?
Absolutely, absolutely. That cut and dry. The shadow part is the more pagan aspect of my life, and the light part is more of the angelic side. But I've married the two together, and I work in those energies and have been for a while now. Both myself and my sister consider ourselves Greywalkers.
Where did you learn this again? Do you think it's part of your remembering, or?
Yeah, no. It came through divine call.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Because I caught a little bit of flack in the very beginning, because here I was working in angelic energy and also working in a more traditional pagan aspect, working polytheist with various deities and gods and goddesses and doing manifestation and magic and all of that yummy groovy jazz along with the divination. So, I would get some sideways comments from those who worked specifically in angelic energy, and I would get sideways comments from those who worked in more witchcraft energy. And, you kind of had to explain yourself over and over and over again to these people till I finally had a better understanding of how I work in my energy. And with that came the word Greywalker. I'm not saying that I made up that word or anything like that, but it's the thing that best explains who I am.
So what is next for Colby Parrish, and what classes will you be teaching at Enchanted Earth?
That statement, what next, is something that's been very popular in the last couple of weeks with the new year coming. New Year's Eve, someone posed the question, and especially when it came to, the magic and mystery, what's next? What's next in 2015 is hard to say. I've been going down various different paths spiritually over the last 6 months, and I'm still kind of discovering all that. There's been many more people coming in asking for healings and doing chakra work and doing one-on-one tutoring, which are things I absolutely love to do. Class-wise, I've already got things planned out through early spring. We just last week started the 12-week intuitive tarot workshop. I run that Friday nights from 7 p.m. until we're done, which is between 8 and 8:30. Some nights a little bit later. It's $20 per workshop. It's 8 weeks of not just learning how to read the cards, but also teaching the students how to become a reader, finding their rhythm, finding their techniques, and what resonates with them. From creating a blessing if they choose at the beginning of their reading to how to sum it up and close the reading down. And then after that, in April, I will be doing a full month of crystal workshops, from Crystal 101 to magic and spell work with crystals. So that's going all the way through April for myself. I do take on private students who want to work in very specific things or just don't feel comfortable working in groups. I've been working with a student now for about 12 weeks, and we've gone from working with crystals and stones through tarot into chakra work, kind of just going all over the place with them. The healings, I'm really excited that people are coming in more often for healing work, coming in doing these chakra alignments, chakra accessing, chakra balancing, and then I've been doing more crystal gridding on the body, which is a whole nother monster in itself. And then there's a lot of spiritual counseling going on as well. We have people that come in not just for us to flip cards for them, but because they find a deeper comfort talking to us on a spiritual level to help them through. And I get to see these clients grow from those experiences. I have clients that have been with me since the very beginning, and I have clients who have just been coming to me for the last 6 months, but I see them once a week.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it sounds like you stay busy.
Oh, we are all very, very busy here. Each and every one of our readers are just so gifted and talented. Each one of our readers has a different modality that they work in. Don't get me wrong, if you want to come in and get a card reading, every single one of our readers reads tarot. People really should like Enchanted Earth's Facebook page. We do readings on there a few times a week. We're always posting what's going on in the shop, and people can even go on there and ask us questions, and we can help them in some way, shape, or form.
Wonderful. Well, Colby, I want to thank you so much for being on the show with us and spending time to educate us about what you do and how you run your life.
I'm just glad you guys are out there getting the message spread. People are becoming more and more aware of the metaphysical world and the spiritual realm and opening up greater to their own personal spirituality. And hopefully that's taking us in a new and positive direction as a civilization.
Well, thank you, and I hope that you will come back to us and let us know,
Absolutely.
What's going on with Enchanted Earth from time to time, because we would love to have you back.
That sounds great. Would love to.
Our thanks to Colby Parrish. Colby's journey began at the age of 4. He's a healer, empath, and intuitive. Colby blends a mixture of the tarot and oracle cards with the affinity of crystals. He is unique in the fashion that he connects with not only spirit, the goddess, but also with angelic energies as well. He is also a Greywalker, and now we know what that is. You can learn more about Colby Parrish by going to EnchantedEarthDunedin.com. Enchanted Earth is located at 733 Main Street, Dunedin, Florida. The telephone number is 727-216-6594. Like Enchanted Earth on Facebook and follow Enchanted Earth on Twitter. You're listening to Healing from Within with Tony Valen here on Blog Talk Radio, airing Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Contact me directly, tony@tonyvalen.com. And please follow the show on Twitter, @TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just do a search for Healing from Within with Tony Valen. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Love and light from all of us here at Healing from Within with Tony Valen.